Hey everyone, this is Wyatt Brannock, and I recently got second place at the Stay Weird Gaming Remoto Regional. I went 6-1, I was 6-0 until the last round, and I played 41 card Unchained with no contracts. So without any delay, I'll get into the deck list. So we had Basic Engine, the 3 Tour Guide, Rhino Warrior, 3 Aruha, 3 Shivara, 1 Shayama, 1 Abominable, 1 Rikea, 1 Samara. For some of the non-engine, we had 3 Ash, we had 3 Droll, and we had 3 Fenrir. I did like Fenrir. I played it. It was really good against Centurion. The ideal was for the mirror, which I didn't play any mirror, but it was good against Centurion. It also had some usage when I played against Sun Valen. And when I played against a few other decks, it definitely came up. Every time I drew it, it was useful. It was good against the branded decks. Um, Although probably more often than it was useful, I drew two. So this is 41 cards. I think the change would be to go down to two Fenrirs and just play 40 cards. All right, on to spells. I played 3 Pot of Prosperity, 3 Abominations Prison. I did play the Welling. I only popped somebody's card with this one time, and honestly, at that point, I was already getting going for a game anyways. I played this over the third escape. Um, I had mixed feelings about it. I think there's a lot of situations where this could come up. At the same time, I would have liked to have drawn escape a little bit more, especially since I was prioritizing chamber in my combos. And then also, I had 3 Forbidden Droplet. Droplet was by far the best non-engine card in the deck. It was good against Centurion. It's good to make sure that you don't get sorry, not Chaos Locks, Abyss locked. Um, it was ideal in the mirror, but again, I didn't play the mirror. It had usage against Rescue Ace if they set up the Baron or if they just set up the SP boards. But every time I drew this, it was good. At one point against Infernoble, I drew it for a turn when I had red and blue dog in hand, and we were in a very simplified game state where they didn't have a hand and they just had the Gearfried Monster Negate and SP. So being able to just drop both dogs out of my hand to negate both and set a trap, I was able to kill both, make Caesar, and that was enough for game. Um, Again, it was really good against the Centurion. It was good against Sunvalen. I went first and I bricked, so I set it and I was able to drop out their tree, and then they had to pass, and then I drew combo. Um, it was good hitting Mirror Jade in the branded decks. I hit Guardian Chimera playing against Chimera. I hit Lovely playing against Labyrinth. And then I played one Triple Tactics. I was on the fence about this in the non-engine slot for this tournament. Just always worried that I'm going to play a lot of Rescue Ace, that they're going to flip up their traps, and then by the time you can talent them, it's a little too late. But I didn't play any Rescue Ace, and I figured, again, it would be good in the mirror, which I didn't play any of those. Um, 3 Impermanence for starting the traps, and then 2 Escape, and 2 Chamber. Again, I had mixed feelings about the 2 Escape, and the reason is because I would like to open a little bit more, because when I search, I'm usually prioritizing Chamber. I feel like since SP came out, it's a lot better for playing through Nib. If I can just gear my combo around to this staying set or anything like that, there's been times where I knew I was going to be past the Nib point when I brought out Samara. And so I'd already have, say, another trap set, or I'd already have backup. So I did a lot of popping my own rage with Samara to reset this and then have a Shavara. So that play, like, the amount of times I did with rage on field was really just slim to none. I usually ended with this set with Rage and Grave after popping it to recycle Shavara, and then the Caesar on field. It made it to where I got Talanced 4 times, and it was never relevant enough, which is crazy because against Unchained Talents is generally really good. So being able to play around it that way, being able to play around, droplet could be a big thing too. So being able to make it to where they never have a good point to hit you with a wide droplet, um, it really just helps you play your interrupts better. I think the best part about Unchained is being able to layer your interrupts. So instead of having like a big board of everything, like in past times where you'd end with like three, four Omni negates on the field or a trap set, something like that, it kind of layers it to where one of your negates in your hand, one's in the grave, Caesar's on the field. So that way it makes sure they have to have multiple different kinds of non-engine to really out you. All right. On to the extra deck. Extra deck was very, very basic. Nothing super crazy in here. Two Yama, two Rage, sorry about the glare. One English. So this is actually something I've been playing as one of, but honestly, I've actually had quite a few times where I'm like, wow, I wish I had the extra English. I get into a grind game and I need to link away their monsters on my turn twice. And it's come up a lot for me. So I think playing the second English could definitely be the move. One Abomination, one Goddess of the Closed World. This card is so strange because either I just like don't play it at all, or I go into a tournament where I need it like two to three times. So I keep it in there because I mean, random stuff does come up that you have to negate. You need to out the purely sometimes in a grind out where you just have a bunch of engine and they have the noir. SP naturally and Muckracker. I didn't play Griffin. I simply never go into Griffin anymore. Again, it's because like Griffin was playing around all the books and stuff, which we don't really have anymore, but it was also trying to have a backup plan for Nib. But basically, my backup plan for Nib is to have this set. And the reason I say that is because prior to Age of Overlord, this wasn't as crazy, but most of these decks, other than like Rescue Ace and Purely, a lot of them set up to, playing Infernoble, they'll set up two monsters. And so being able to hit at the right time to bring back Rage, link with their special monster into SP to banish stuff now that you have that. I mean, you had Griffin before, but it was hard to. It, it, it felt really hard to be able to do a good Griffin play off of Rage and still have a Shavara into Abomination to discard a card. Because it was either that you just wouldn't have the cards to discard after playing through interruptions, or you'd basically be discarding all of your follow up, which was not fun. Two Caesar. Two is definite. I've heard people talking about playing one. Like, no, I got to a point in the tournament where I would go first in prosperity and I would just keep both in there because I was like, oh, I just keep playing two. So because this format can be so grindy. It's not as crazy blowout as it used to be. And so I really just I think I didn't, it's weird. I didn't go into time, but all but one match came within the last 2 minutes of time. So basically, all of my matches ended within the last 2 minutes of time. I have the deuce in here, even though I'm not playing the contracts. The idea is I really just wanted to be able to have a good Zeus, be able to make a two wipe Zeus. I have yet to this day summoned Zeus in this deck. I don't know. I mean, I get it, like grind game against the birds, maybe you need it, but just haven't needed it yet. I didn't summon Typhon at all this weekend, which I find crazy because Typhon is a great card. And then also King Darius. So this was really just a playthrough shifter, which I didn't get to shifter a lot, unfortunately. Um, I had my own shifter, so being able to like basically the idea was like if I could Caesar them and then tour guide, summon or sorry, if I could shifter them, tour guide, summon, make Darius, attack, make a big Zeus. That was kind of the hope, but that didn't happen. And so, alright. I actually only drew Shifter once, which I'll get into in a second, because I was really hopeful that Shifter was going to be a cool carry this tournament, but alas, it was not. Psyduck is three nibs. You got to have nibs somewhere on the list, in my opinion. It's just, I didn't put it in the main deck. I know most people are maining it, but it honestly is just, it's just so hard. I cannot find the spot without the glare, I swear. Um, it is just so hard right now to consider this to be in the main deck. There's just so many decks that can end on less. A lot of Unchained players are they're really just playing lines to play around it. They take the less optimal line for the sake of playing around it. which is especially if your less optimal line is still able to set up the chamber into rage on your opponent's turn. You get nibbed and they're playing with 5 cards, and you're able just to instantly out two of them with the rage combo. So if you have any non-engine of your own, you're likely going to be able to stop their turn unless their entire hand was literally just nib gas. And if they had nib gas, they have nib gas. I mean, it is what it is. Yeah, 3D shifter. This has just been on the trend. I've heard a lot of people playing this, and I said, you know what, I'll give it a shot. And I played multiple decks that I decided this in against, and I drew it one time. And the one time I drew it was just a time where it was the last round. I was playing against Tier, and I had lost game one. I was playing Sean Pittman, and I said, well, it doesn't matter if I win or lose. I'm still going to be in top four. So I want to side the shifter going first against Tier because the idea was that it can essentially end their turn. So if I shifter them and then make Caesar, I'm just going to end their turn, and then on my turn I could be starting with I won't be under shifter, and I could be starting with full combo with a Caesar to back up my plays, which felt like it was a good idea. And then immediately, I finally, for the first time in the tournament, I think I cited this in like 4 or 5 rounds. So from the first time in the tournament, I drew shifter, I shifted them and made Caesar and passed. And he draws and goes Herald of the Abyss, and I was like, oh man, big negs right there, big old punish. So I didn't really get to test shifter as much as I would have liked to. Other spells, two lightning storms, backward deck. I mean, rescue ace exists. It definitely exists. I never drew lightning storm, so I don't really have much to say about it. But in theory, it's good for the back rows. Feather duster. Um, I drew feather duster once. I had one round. I felt a little bad. Um, I had one round where I was in a grind game with Chimera, and in game two, and I just drew sack every turn for 4 turns straight. Everything I needed to play through. I needed a monster. I drew tour guide. He set a monster set two, pass with no cards in hand. I drew feather duster for turn. It was uncanny. It's unfortunate, but that's card games. One thrust. I just I don't. I'm so iffy on the talents and thrust stuff. I like talents a bit more because setting a trap. You already play cards to search your traps. Setting a trap versus going first and getting hand trapped and you talents their hand. Like hand traps exist right now, and confiscation's banned for a reason. Like I don't even know the last time. I don't know the last time I've drawn two with talents. Honestly, it's either been I take their monster or I take their hand. One Change of Heart, one Herald of the Abyss. I figure this will still be good for purely. There's other situations. It's not bad in the mirror. But, like just hit the Caesar with this. Caesar's a big deal. If you can hit the Caesar with this and then you have any out for rage. I mean, like, I did testing where I played against the mirror and my opening hand was just Gas, Herald of the Abyss, and Droplet. And that was enough right there. Last part on this idea was evenly. Um, I play a lot of decks that I could evenly. I think evenly is definitely really good this format. I mean, Rescue Ace is still arguably the best deck. So I think keeping it in was good. The one time I sided it in was round two and I drew it, and it was against Labyrinth, and they had like they went on like they ended on like Ariana set 3 or 4, and I had evenly, so it was definitely worth it the time I drew it. So, but um, changes. The only thing I'd really change is things I want to try. I really want to try the Gizmek Uka stuff. Um, it's just a little hard to figure out how you out the statues. If you search Shavara, or if you have Shavara, you can just tribute summon. It's a little weird, but it works. The fire one's the easiest out, so it's kind of interesting is being able to Gizmek Uka in the mirror because you could summon, you could sorry, losing my train of thought here. You could hit their fire with Gizmeguka, summon the fire statue, and then they essentially have to pass, and then you just draw make Nightmare Phoenix. So you'd have to play Nightmare Phoenix in the extra deck, which should be fun. Um, Other stuff like that. That's just some stuff to try down the road. In terms of shout outs, shout out to everyone at Locals, Jackpin, Jack, Derek, Kevin, Carson, uh, Tarek, Joseph, and anybody else I might have missed. And so, yep, thank you.